The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Quirky Dog Podcast, inspired by some of the quirkiest dogs you can ever imagine, and the owners who love them. This podcast is brought to you by the quirky couple themselves, Scott and Jess Williams. Their aim is to educate and entertain. Here's Scott and Jess.
Welcome, guys, and happy Wednesday. Today we have a very exciting episode for you, but first we're going to start with the quirky tip of the day. All right, our quirky...
My cue.
Oh my gosh. Our quirky tip of the day is brought to you by Viagen Pets. Viagen Pets is a cloning company out of Texas, and a lot of people have been writing me asking questions about the whole process. So it's going to be a YouTube link in our show notes today where you can go through and learn about that process. The actual quirky tip, however, Viagen sponsors it, but it is going to be to follow this awesome Instagram account, which is Quintessentially Quill. That will be linked in the show notes as well. And today we are welcoming Quill's mom, Beth O'Connor, on the show. Whew, everyone's muted. Now we're back. Beth is an awesome dog trainer. I've been wanting to have her on to discuss a myriad of things for a while. But Quill got this Versatility Gold title from the CKC. He's the first dog, the first Border Collie to ever achieve it, and it was an awesome achievement. So we wanted to have her on and discuss it here today. Beth, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about you and your history and, dogs and training. Just give us a little intro here.
I've been training dogs for just over 13 years now. I primarily train pet dogs. And then I got Quill, and Quill's breeder was like, you should just go to an intro to agility class. Just try it. Do me a favor. And I was like, fine, I probably will hate it. And then I kind of got obsessed with dog sports.
Yeah, you do everything. Agility is like a small portion of what you do. Tell us what you're competing in now, because every time I see your pages, it's just titles and ribbons and everything.
Different things. So I actually, of course, started with agility. That was my gateway sport. But then I didn't actually like it as much because I tried other things and realized there's better sports, but more engaging sports for me out there. I started doing herding and scent detection and barn hunt. Barn hunt's definitely my favorite, though, I think. And then I just tried all the things, and I actually started teaching barn hunt classes because I loved it so much. Now I have my own barn hunt club that I run. So I'm hosting trials, becoming a judge for barn hunt, and it's all thanks to Quill. He's the one that got me into all of it.
Yeah, how old is he?
He's 5.
Yeah, so, I mean, within 5 years, you just went from, like, very competent dog trainer, very pet doggy person to, like, sports galore. I mean, this has been, like, a pretty quick change over time.
Right? Yeah. Typically when people have ADHD and they find something that they really like, you just go for it and you don't stop.
So are you breeding rodents now?
Oh, yes. I don't want to talk about it.
Are you really?
Yes. Well, like, you kind of have to.
That's what I thought. Yeah. You got a house full of rats.
Yeah. No, gerbils, because I'm an Alberta.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Gerbils are kind of fun. Gerbils are kind of fun.
And they don't smell as bad as rats, so it's not nearly as ridiculous. But yeah, if you told me 5 years ago that I would own 16 gerbils and be hanging out in like farms and stuff, herding sheep, I would have said, "There's what? No way. I'm a city girl."
So are you drilling holes in PVC pipe and making little containers and stuff, or what?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course.
Most people your age are like making pot pipes, and you're making canisters for gerbils.
Most people my age are making kids, and I'm making gerbils.
But you're making titles. So, and then you do confirmation too. Like, I see you dressing up and running around the ring.
Yeah, so I don't know, I hate myself, so I decided to try confirmation with Quill. Even though he's like a sport working line Border Collie, I found out that you can show any dog as long as they're purebred, so I got into it. I really enjoy it. It was just really cool learning a different way to handle dogs that I've never experienced before. And it's a whole different world. Like, there's dog sports, and then there's confirmation. Like, they're completely separate. And truthfully, I just like I really enjoy having an excuse to dress up and get fancy. So I'm like, what, a dog sport I can look nice in? Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, they'll judge you at barn hunt if you show up in a dress. You look very out of place there.
So does he not meet the confirmation requirements, and that's why you say you hate yourself when you do that? Like, do you not do well in confirmation?
So no, we don't. But the thing is Quill is within the standard for the Border Collie, but he's not in style. So that is what is the whole thing that the hating yourself is if you have a dog that's in standard but not in style, you just kick yourself and it hurts your feelings over and over and over and over again.
When he's standing, do you hold a gerbil out for him?
I actually have considered it.
He drools too much, though. It would probably throw off his whole performance. The dog literally, I mean, he loves barn hunt, and I'm glad it's your favorite too. But I mean, literally, like puddles of drool. I mean, he really gets excited for that sport.
Oh my God, he loves it so much. Like I have my gerbil room, he just like hangs out and stares at the door being like, open it, please open it, please open it.
So how did this Versatility Gold title come to be? I mean, the CKC has a lot of Border Collies doing a lot of things. Tell us a little bit about what that means and why he achieved it and everything else.
So they actually only introduced the program a few years ago for the versatility titles. And I saw it on the CKC website and I was like, how do I get the top one? And then I saw it, how the requirements, and I was just like, okay, we're doing this. I just like made a plan and I was like, I want to do this because you can look on CKC and see what dogs have what titles. So I looked up and saw that there weren't any Border Collies that had it. And I was like, I want to be like, I did it on purpose. It was very deliberate that I got this title because I was like, I want Quill to forever be the first Border Collie that did this. And we did it. So you need to have 2 high-level titles in a sport, and they sectioned it off into different types of sports. So we used his Ratch X which is his like excellent champion title from Barn Hunt, the CKC Scent Detection Masters title, which was the highest one at the time, and then his Herding Started title, his Canine Good Neighbor, and his Rally Master title. So it was actually like versatility. Like you have to, it's not something you can stumble into doing. You truly need to have an exceptional dog to get this title. And I'm like, and remember, I'm a super green sport handler. So the fact that I took a green dog, green handler, and was able to accomplish this, like, I think it's really cool. But then people go on, they're like, I can't believe you did that. And like, the more praise I've gotten it from people about it, the like better I feel about it. I'm like, actually, it was a big deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's super cool. And it was a great way to be like, hey, let's come on and talk about this. Because you do a lot of good things in the dog world and you're a pretty strong voice and you help, navigate things, hopefully, in the direction things should be going in the dog world. But I mean, this sports stuff is brand new to you, like you said, and you're just killing it on every level. And another thing that's worth noting is, a dog that can actually compete in conformation and like actually herd. This isn't just like the fake herding. Like this is like true herding, true drive and everything else. It's not easy to find, and he does have both. He doesn't have all the hair and he, do you get marked? Do you get marked because he's Merle? Do they like the solid colors more?
So again, it's so political, the conformation stuff. So even though Merle is in standard, it is like a nightmare to finish them with, like, even in the States when there's way more dogs down there versus it up in Canada, it is violently difficult to finish even a conformation like show line Border Collie is hard to finish when they're Merle versus a black and white one. Yeah,
they like that traditional coloring. But it's just worth noting, like, the dog literally can run around the ring and prance around and look beautiful and has excellent conformation, but he legitimately herds sheep too. And that's showing the best of all sides of the Border Collie. And I just think it's super cool what you do and the way you show him off. So
I'm very proud of him. Like he truly, just like anything I throw at him, he's like, all right, let's do this. Even if he doesn't like conformation too much, he's like, I got Stan here. This is stupid. But he does it for me because he's such a good boy. He really, really is.
Yeah, no, he's an awesome dog. And you got into him from Ego, right? You saw Ego's account. That's kind of how that came to be. Okay. So like 10 years ago, I was like, I want a Border Collie. I was like, I've wanted a Border Collie since I was a kid. And I was like, I'm going to wait until like I own my own house, that I'm like mentally and like financially in a place where I can have a Border Collie and have the time to devote to them. But and then I found out you can get a Merle Border Collie. I was like, oh my God, I have to get one of those. So it was like literally 10 years from when I decided I wanted a Merle Border Collie to when I got Quill. And I've been like kind of like casually looking for a breeder that I liked. And I didn't know what to look for in a breeder at the time. Like I was completely clueless. Now I know all the things about that though. And I happened upon Ego's Instagram account and I was like, that's exactly what I want. So I messaged her, asked her for the breeder, and then I got in touch and got Quill 2 years later. Yeah. And he's doing great. And he's only 5. I mean, you guys have a huge career ahead. So before you had Border Collies, what did you have? You have like a coyote mix, right?
Yeah, she's a mutt, a bunch of different stuff. My friend up in Edmonton, so it's just about 3 hours north of me, he had found this random dog wandering around on the side of the road, couldn't find the owners, fostered it through a rescue, and Leia was one of the puppies from that litter. So she's just a total mix. And God, she was a nightmare to raise. I cried so many times. I was like, why did I do this to myself? But truthfully, I am a miniature schnauzer person at heart.
But that's a big change. I mean, a mini schnauzer to a border collie, it's like two different worlds in itself.
You must know this. Every good dog trainer must have a scruffy terrier. That is just like
we had a Jag terrier, and we didn't even keep him past 2. He was too animal aggressive. But yeah, scruffy terriers. They help humble you and teach you at least along the way.
Yes, and I had the humbling dogs first, and then I got the easy one after.
I did the same thing. Yeah. I did the same thing. I had some very difficult Malinois and several different dogs, and that little terrier.
Jag terrier, yeah.
And then when I got the Border Collie, it was like, wow, training's a lot easier than I thought it was. Like, I thought it was really hard to train a dog. I realized it was the dog was really difficult to train, you know?
And I think it's important to note with you and with Quill, like, he has excellent pet dog skills as well. And I just want to kind of touch on this here. If we're, professional dog trainers and out and about, even if you're competing in sports, even if you have a sport dog, even if your dog has a lot of drive, I think it's very important that we're showing the world the ropes and the way, and we need to be a reflection of good dog training. So can you just touch on that a little?
So you just opened a can of worms with me on this one, because I am this bothers me so much how a lot of sport people don't give any thought or any effort into making sure that their sport dog is a good pet first. They let these dogs just be bonkers because they weren't worried about ruining their drive, especially with like a border collie. You're not going to ruin that dog's drive. Like, it's a border collie. Like, they're not these sensitive, soft dog. Well, they are. We know that they are, and they're not, depending on what's going on. But having the basics of just a good pet will help you in sports. If you have a dog that just respects you and listens to you when there's distractions, you're never going to be worried about them where you're trialing, because it's just going to be just a new place to trial. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm so worried about trialing on sand because they've never smelt sand before. It's like, no, like, you socialized your dog, you expose them to stuff when they're puppies, you build this dog up as the pet first, and then you start to add into sports. Once you have that solid pet foundation, you will be more successful. And I proved that with Quill, that by starting with just like the basic pet stuff and then introducing sports, first Border Collie with the gold title. He has all these titles because I started with that pet stuff first, and it actually helped. It did not hinder.
Yeah. So you're telling me you can do rally and agility with gerbils running around on the field?
Okay, well, there's.
I mean, that's not a pet dog requirement. Come on.
Oh, I mean, it's just control issues.
No, but
I can't. If there's a bunny, he's seen bunnies and went to chase them. If I yell stop, he plops to the ground instantly.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, sort of. Yeah.
He's just busting your balls.
Don't listen to him.
I know he is. I still gotta.
I don't even know if his Malinois would bite if there were gerbils.
None of my dogs
around.
listen to me.
Oh, stop it. No, it's not that. I just think it's important. And you say, you can be more successful, but the dog is also going to be more balanced. Like, these dogs that are bred who are really high drive, and it seems like now a lot of people are like, I want this super high drive sire and this super high drive dam, and it's going to be great. And like, there can be fallout with too much drive. Like, you really have to know what you're doing. There can be, increased fear periods. There can be over arousal issues. There could be heightened anxiety. I mean, as an intelligent person, you're going to be more of an overthinker. We're more prone to anxiety the smarter we are. Like, you get a dog with a ton of drive and a ton of intelligence, there may be a little bit fallout. So not only may you be more successful in sports, but the dog is going to be more stable. And we owe it to these dogs to create stability.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that's exactly it. You said it so well. It's just, when you have these like super high drive dogs, and it's like with people, like, if you can't be too smart without also being a little weird, like, there's it's just impossible not to be. And that's the thing with border collies, is like, if they don't get exposed to stuff when they're young, and like if you don't work through those fear periods correctly, like, you're just gonna end up with a neurotic mess of a dog that bites people when they don't know what else to do. And that's so common, especially with the sport line border collies, as I'm sure you know. Yep. They have so many behavior issues because people just let them be crazy and they don't give them any structure or discipline. Like, if you've ever done herding, I don't know if you have, but like, you're not like, oh, sweetie, don't do that. Yeah. When they bite a sheep, like, no, you're like, it's not like, you don't do that. And so then
they carry a staff for a reason. It may be a pool noodle, but you're directing the dog. Yeah. And these dogs are bred they're hard dogs, they live outdoors, or they used to, at least over in Scotland. Like they're real dogs. They're not little fluff bunnies. So yeah, it is important to communicate with them in the right way and set boundaries, not only for the dog's safety, but for their mental stability, because a dog and some people, the dog's reactive, the dog's biting, it's, first place at the podium, it doesn't matter. Well, there's a trade-off for me, and it matters. So,
you know what I found interesting with my Border Collie, because I'm new to Border Collies. I have one. He's 11, so I've had him for a long time. But he's a very sensitive dog. But then when he's in drive, he's a totally different dog. And I mean, it's like, so you have to be willing. You got to deal with the dog in front of you at any given time, with as far as getting in their head. And that's where knowing the dog and knowing when to be harder and not to be harder is really important, because most of the time he's just really easygoing. If he's doing something I don't like and I just say his name, he's like, oh shit, did I do something wrong? But then as soon as he's in drive, he doesn't give a shit. If I'd say his name all day long, if I need to get my hands on him sometimes to get him under control, because he's just getting really intense, It's funny.
He lets him be.
I say that all the time. I'm so glad you said that, because like with the Border Collies, I don't know if you guys knew this story, but when I was doing agility with Quill, we were going to a force-free facility, so we couldn't correct the dogs at all. So Quill started to just kind of nip me a little bit, and they were like, just ignore it, and it ended up escalating into him biting me in the crotch. Nice. I have the video.
Nice.
Was there a hole, or you were good?
No, it bruised.
Okay. Well,
we don't need pictures.
At least you didn't rip your pants. I was just thinking about how you got home that night. Yeah.
I was like, but then what I instinctually did is I slapped him in the face. And guess what? He stopped doing it.
And you were thrown out of the club.
I think it was warranted enough that I wasn't thrown out of it, thankfully. But it definitely was contentious, and I was told to never do it again, or I would be kicked out. Yeah. And I was like, well, okay, then help me not have my Border Collie bite me. Yeah. And they didn't give me anything to help with it. And like you're saying with the herding, when they're in drive, a slap in the face is like, it's whatever. I even look at him the wrong way when we're at home and everything's calm. He's like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
In this video, I should send it to you so you can see it. He's like, he literally has a shit grin on his face. He's like, hey, I gotcha. And so it's this thing where people are simultaneously putting Border Collies in these super high arousal situations, and then wondering why they're having issues when they're not being given any structure and being told, hey, you can't do that. You just have to do this. You just ignore the bad things. And that might work for a softer dog, but it does not work for a Border Collie in arousal mode. It won't.
I tell because I do pet dogs primarily, and I see several dogs a week. And I tell people quite often, when something like that happens, it's better to do something. Even maybe if it's not the best thing, do something immediately to stop it. Because people are so passive. The dog will do something really inappropriate, and they're just like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I'm not telling anyone to hit their dog, but sometimes it's better than doing nothing in certain situations,
Yeah, and things escalate. Like you said, it didn't start off with he went through a tunnel, he wrapped a stanchion, he grabbed your crotch. It was a behavior that was starting to bubble up. And it is important that we nip these things in the bud. Last year, honestly, our most aggressive breed was an Australian Shepherd, which seems crazy, but we saw multiple Aussies with serious aggression. And I think it's similar with the drive and the intelligence. And
it's a learned behavior.
They're not getting the right communication and feedback. No, you're not able to do that. No, you shouldn't do that. And dangerous dogs, dogs that other people wouldn't touch. So if you do want to own a dog with high drive or high intelligence, or both, like we get in a Border Collie, you have to own that dog responsibly, not only for the dog's sake, but for your sake, for liability and everything else. And just getting back to it, I mean, a lot of people compete in sport that aren't dog trainers, but you make a living being a dog trainer. We make livings being dog trainers. It's important that we are models for the world about what things should look like. And I think that this is often lost, certain, instructors and stuff, they may do really well in sport, but if your pet dog stuff is lacking, your students are seeing that, your clients are seeing that. And then it's permissive, oh yeah, you don't need to teach that stuff. You don't need to teach them to settle. They don't have to be quiet in the crate. They may be reactive when someone passes the car. Oh, well, no, that is on us. We need to make the future of dogs as good as it can be, and we're kind of at this like tipping point of where are we headed, and we need to step up and be leading by example. And every time I see a video of you doing anything with your dogs, I'm always very impressed and appreciative that you are showing the world the ropes, because a lot of people aren't, even when they're getting paid to train dogs for a living, you know?
Oh, did we just become best friends? Like, that's like so true. 'Cause you're right. Like every time it's I don't want to say a random person, but just like a civilian dog owner sees dog trainers be like, it's okay. It perpetuates it. And that's what turns into dogs being drugged up so much they can't even think, because there's no other way to handle it. If this dog had just been told no and given like a small leash correction when the issue started, it would never get to that point. This is why dogs get rehomed. This is why dogs get euthanized, because people aren't being given the tools to actually manage these issues, and given just the knowledge and the okay to be like, hey, like you just tell your dog no, like don't let them do that. And then the dogs very quickly, especially with the smart dogs, it takes like one small like redirection or one small interruption at the beginning, and that's all you need. You don't need to be slapping your dog in the face if you just tell them a quick no 6 months prior when the issue started, right?
Yeah.
Like totally. And it's so frustrating as a pet dog trainer to see this trend, because I've been in the industry long enough that I have seen the trend of people being willing to like be like, no, like my dog needs structured. And then it's flipped into this, like, I can't say no to my Fluffy. Are you kidding me? My little fluffy Border Collie, that's just a pet. He's like a stuffed animal. And it's like, no, you've got a dog, dude. Like this is a potentially dangerous weapon you have, and you need to treat them appropriately and protect them from bad things happening, because that's what being a good dog owner is giving your dog that structure.
Well, a lot of these trainers they can't use their own dog within a class for just some distraction, or like to do a CGC. You're trying to teach someone how to get through a CGC. So you have your own dog with you, but they don't have a dog that can actually do it either. So they're just telling everybody how to do everything, and it's just pathetic. I just think you should at least have a dog with you that can just put him in a down, and this other dog's going friggin' crazy. Your dog just hanging out, and you're working with the other dog, getting the other dog under control, and then you can walk by each other and do some basic things, you know?
It gives people something to aspire to. It gives them a goal to be like, oh, wow, like I saw Beth's dog do that. Like, at least for me, like I have moments in my dog training history where I saw something happen somewhere and I'm like, I want that. Like, I want to make that happen. And we as professional dog trainers need to be the industry standard. I feel like it is very important that we can use all of our pet dogs. We use client dogs all the time for classes. Like, this is a really important thing. Since we kind of spilled over there, I just want to touch on it. So you are a dog trainer in Canada, and you're a balanced dog trainer. Yes. Canada is a little bit different than the States. I mean, there's heat everywhere as far as dog training goes and methodology. How does that go for you? Do you have fallout there? Do you get a lot of pushback? What is that like?
Do you have restrictions as far as tools or anything?
No. Luckily, there's no like laws that stop us from doing like certain dog training methods yet. Thank God. But there's definitely a very like strong force-free community in Calgary. It's worse in Northern Alberta. But I've found that through doing dog sports, a lot of these trainers that used to just hate me blindly, like people just hated me. They never even met me, and they like, I live rent-free in their heads, and they'd obsess over things I'm doing, which is ridiculous.
Part of that is because you're a redhead, but go ahead.
Yes, no, you're not wrong though. Like, I'm just very recognizable and memorable. But they would just like, anyway, after starting to do dog sports, these people actually met me. So many people were like, you're not what I thought you'd be. And I've actually made a lot of friends in the force-free community. And one of the horrifying things that I have discovered is that there are so many like alleged force-free trainers that they teach force-free stuff, but they actually are balanced trainers behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they use balance methods on their dogs to make them good, and then they withhold information from their clients. Yeah. Because they're worried about what other people in the industry will think of them. So there's so many people, and I actually had someone tell me this. They were like, I'm so jealous you can just tell people what they actually need to do with their dog. And I was like, excuse me?
That's my job as a dog trainer.
Right? I was like, so you could do that. You realize that, right? And she was like, no, because then I lose my like CPDT, whatever thing certification. I'm like, so it's more important for you to hold the certification than to actually help the dogs that you're training. Yeah. That is horrible. Yeah. But quick, before I forget, going back to the bringing your dogs to class thing, I always bring my dogs to class with me. They're the example, and I use them to help teach other dogs, but that should go for sports too. If you don't have a dog that can do the sport you're teaching, and obviously like not every dog's going to have an aptitude for every sport, but if you don't at least have a master's title in a sport that you're teaching, you have no right to teach that sport, because how the hell can you teach something that you don't know how to do? Like,
We did just become best friends. If you were wondering, that did happen. Okay, so getting back to Quill, I just want to make sure we covered everything. Anything that we missed about him? Anything that we missed about your journey? Something else you want to impart? He's a great dog. He's very handsome. Oh, good. We're gonna show him off. Oh, look at him. He's a good boy, listener. He's such a good boy.
Yeah, but look at that coat. I mean, I said, look at that coat, though. I mean, that's not the standard.
No, you know what? If you want your dog's coat to grow, if you give them a bath once every 2 weeks with like the show shampoo, it grows like a weed.
Oh, really? It gets longer?
Yeah.
I don't want that at all, but that's good. It's good feedback.
How do you get the coat shorter? My dog is like that too. He has got so much hair. My dog has so much hair like that one.
Some people shave, but we're not shaving.
No,
Jimmy.
no, I know.
You're such a good boy, Quill. You're such a monkey. So does he like the other dogs? He likes the mini schnauzers, and he's good about all that? Yeah.
Yeah, well, he loves them more than they love him. But he and Leia, like my coyote-looking dog, they are best friends. They play with each other, and she's 11 too, so she still plays with Quill and just loves him so much.
Yeah, he keeps her young. So what would be your biggest lesson from when I know it's been a 10-year journey before you even got Quill, so we're talking 15 years now, but what's your biggest lesson in the last 5 years from him as a dog trainer or a dog owner or as a person or something else?
I think it's really that, well, because it's not like the biggest lesson, it's not the most important, because dog sports are not real life, but I think it really is that having a good dog in any scenario does start with that basic pet dog stuff. Like, you really need to have that foundation down before you start to add on to it. Because if you don't have a solid foundation, it's like a building. If there's not a good foundation, the building's going to crumble. And it's the same with the dog's training. If there's not a solid foundation, things are going to crumble, and you're going to find holes in unexpected places. When you get to higher levels, you'd be like, oh my God, I missed something way down here that is affecting it at the higher level.
Yeah, completely. And another thing I think that's worth noting is find someone who can teach you those foundational skills. There are many qualified, competent sport trainers out there, but they don't always have the toolbox or the, experience to help you through some of the pet doggy stuff. And loose leash walking is important. A recall is important. Like, these things are important. I'm sorry. Like, even if you don't have a tug toy on you, your dog should come.
Right. Yeah. Like, that's the thing, is so many people are worried about having like a low fence at a trial, because they're like, oh, what if my dog runs away? And it's like, what do you mean? Why are you in master's rally obedience if you're worried about your dog running away because the fence is only 2 feet tall? Like, that should not be a thing. It should just, if you have a good pet, you can have a good sport dog, but you cannot have a good sport dog if you don't have that good pet foundation first.
Yeah.
So key.
I can already tell that AI is going to pick out that line for the real. Chrissy just does it through AI, but I can already tell it's going to like that. What were you going to say? Sorry.
I remembered a hilarious thing that happened in rally with the gerbil. It was a master's rally thing, and we were walking by a wall, and we were about to do a really difficult sign with Quill, and he just stopped and then like looked at the ground, and then broke his heel, and then he went up the wall, and there was a little hole in the wall where there was little mouse droppings, and I saw a little mouse scurry away. So yeah, he can't do rally. There's a mouse around.
Admitting it is the first step. All right, so for our Canadian listeners, if you are near Beth, what is your business called again?
Cultured
Canines.
You learned that because I said it. I was just letting her say it.
You said it 4 times since we've been sitting here.
All right. You guys, check them out. Beth does awesome work, and we talked a lot about sports stuff here today, but she is a phenomenal pet dog trainer, and she has helped hundreds and thousands of people and their dogs. So if you guys are looking for help, check out Beth.
I'm not ready to let her go.
I know, but the studio's going to close.
All right.
Okay. It must be the redhead thing. We'll do another one in a few weeks, if not years. She's going to be a repeat guest. We became best friends. It's going to work out.
Good to meet you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. If you need us, email us at studio@thequirkydog.com. Again, make sure you follow Quill. The Instagram link will be in the description. And in the meantime, keep it quirky. Thanks, guys.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.